It is time to discuss the day's political news. Joining me now live is Matthew Cranston, the economics correspondent at the Australian Financial Review. Matthew, thank you so much for your time this afternoon.
My pleasure, Danica.
Firstly, obviously the big news today, billions of dollars wiped in shares from the Australian stock market. I mean, how concerning is this now?
Well, I mean, it's very concerning. A massive fall in the ASX today, more than 5%. Dollar's gone below 64. And you've seen a big driver of this, the oil price. It's now crashed 47% since January 3, and it was down 20% basically overnight, or in the last 24 hours.
We know that the federal government will unveil its stimulus package this week. The Treasurer a short time ago saying that it will be a substantial package. We don't know the exact details yet, but from your perspective, I mean, how important is it that the government does get this right to keep businesses and jobs afloat?
It's going to be absolutely crucial. The Treasurer has just said before that the stimulus would be focused on both people and businesses. The timing of that's going to be interesting with a budget 8 weeks away. So there might be some different timing on which pieces of stimulus are introduced at which point. But it's going to be crucial for both the supply and the demand side of the economy. And what I mean by that is just with the supply side, you're getting businesses that aren't able to get the things they need to get to sell. And then on the demand side, you're getting people who might not be going out to restaurants, might not be demanding what they want in the economy, might not be spending. So this is affecting both sides of the supply and the demand side of the economy, and the Treasurer needs to address both of those with a stimulus package that would be directed at everything from making sure businesses maintain their staff, to giving them sort of any sort of tax incentives to go out and spend on equipment and other sorts of things for their business to keep investing over the next 12 months or the next 6 months. But on top of that, also going to need to make sure that households keep spending and keep incentivising businesses to actually keep investing.
It was interesting, Scott Morrison last week, he said that the government has learnt from mistakes of past stimulus packages. Has it been interesting to see how he's handled this situation as opposed to the bushfires? Well,
yeah, but the point is we haven't actually seen the detail of it yet. We can only score his response once we see the response, out of 10 that is. At this point we're hearing all the right signals, so he's obviously gone to Treasury to run all the different models, work out all the different ways to best get that stimulus into the system without ending up handing cheques to dead people and so forth. But until we actually see the detail on how Treasury and his office are going to do this, we can't really say whether or not it's a good strategy or not yet. At the moment, it's speculation. But at this point, I think approaching it from incentivising business is a pretty good way to do things, because you can have a bit of control over that. Although the timing there is going to be an issue as well, because it takes time for businesses to work out what they need to get it through the system. So that stimulus might not come for several months, and the economy needs it right now.
The IMF has called for the government to delay delivering a surplus. Do you think that should be a consideration?
I don't think the government is considering about a surplus at the moment. I think that's off the cards, and I think they're pretty realistic about that. They know that sensible economics is that you don't try and keep surpluses in a crisis like this. So I don't think that's a consideration for them at all, and I think that's the responsible economic thing to do. The question then is, how big is the deficit going to be? And economists are starting to throw their arm and have a crack at how big that deficit will be. Some are saying between $3 and $10 billion. I think UBS put something out today saying a stimulus package of $3 to $10 billion would equate to a deficit in the end of about $6 billion for this financial year. So yeah, surplus not a consideration for them. I think they're just making sure that they respond appropriately.
Okay, we'll be watching this one very closely. Matthew Cranston, appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining me.
My pleasure.